welcome to Rave Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and in this episode, I am going to be taking a look at Frank Thorns' complete GHITA of ALIZARR. Frank Thorn, most of you might know for his work on Red Sonja, and this is a little bit of a takeoff on Red Sonja, and he drew Red Sonja for many issues. Many people think he's the best artist that's done work for the Red Sonja comic. They recently published a Red Sonja omnibus covering the stuff that had been done for Marvel Comics. And his work is really terrific. It's great to have it collected in there. It's a regular size. The pages are reproduced at basically a comic book size. And that's too bad because they really could be oversized. I mean, at this point in my life, with my eyesight getting a little worse for wear, and also my love of seeing things a little better, I would have rather it be oversized like most omnibuses are. As a matter of fact, why don't I grab it? Boy, this shows you how well thought out it is for me to do these videos. So here's the Red Sonja omnibus, and as you can see, and this is especially rough because they also reprint some of the stuff that was from the black and white magazines. So that was really meant to be printed larger to begin with. But it's fantastic to have all that work right there in that volume. So the reason I'm doing this video mainly is because I was on Instagram and I put up a picture I just took of, I had been flipping through some old heavy metals and actually an issue of 1994, which I forgot. That's where I actually took the picture of GHITA from, was from 1994, I believe. But Kurt Bruegel, who is half the team, along with, he's the inker and co-conspirator with Jake Jacobs, the artist and main writer, behind Turbo Pit Fighter, an upcoming graphic novel, which you can watch those guys create. They have a weekly video YouTube thing where they show you the creation of Turbo Pit Fighter and all the thoughtfulness they're putting into its presentation and the making of it. Now, I try not to watch that too much because I don't want there to be spoilers. I'd like to go into it. But they did send me the first 6 pages, which they've released as what they're calling a turbo teaser. They're selling a little 6-page, and it shows off how good it looks. It's a post-apocalyptic woman who's, just tough as hell. She's a mutant and tough as hell. And, you can see why that might appeal to this might appeal to those guys. So check out Kurt and Jake's Turbo Pit Fighter YouTube channel. They did an interview with me where I just babbled for a half hour. So here we go. Let's look at this. This is kind of like his Frank's reaction. Before he did Red Sonja, Frank was always interested in sword and sorcery stuff. He would cosplay as a wizard. And he would always have beautiful women cosplaying with him as, tavern wenches or warrior women a lot of times. And, before I was even that familiar with his artwork, I had seen his pictures in some places, some fanzine kind of stuff. So here, it starts off with an overview of Frank's career. That's actually a pretty good caricature there. So if it was for a tryout for Mad Magazine, which I don't remember ever seeing him in Mad, so I guess he didn't get it. But this is, there of course is Red Sonja. Here's an interview. This is the same interview. This interview was conducted, it was also in Frank Thorns' Battling Beauties, published by the same publisher. And I have that book too, so I already had this interview, where he just talks about this book and you know, I like this where he's working out the lettering. There's a cover for 1994. And so this has got some stuff in it that definitely wouldn't have made it for Red Sonja. It's not exactly it's not X-rated or anything, but it's definitely hard R. Now, some of this, there are many times when, even though she's a fierce warrior, and what really sets the main part of the story in action is the attempted rape of her, you know, so, you know, it's not that easy to recommend it to everyone. You know, it's not for everyone. You know, now, you know, I have noticed lately, there are a lot of really hardcore kind of, some people were calling them dark romances, spicy romances, or extra spicy romances. Some of these romances meant for women have some pretty explicit sex scenes in them. They do have attempted rapes or even rape in them, even in a story that's supposed to be, you know, and lots and violence and stuff, you know, that would almost pass for a, you know, a harder core men's magazine. And, you know, women having sex with people who are panthers turned into men, or men who turned into panthers, or lions or bears, and all kinds of wild stuff. So, you know, I think there might be a female audience for this. But be warned, I think that the average woman would probably go like, ugh, you know, all these guys attempting to rape her, and yes, she does end up killing these guys and even castrating one, but it's still, you know, it's not for everyone, not even for all guys. I mean, a lot of people are going to think this is a little over the top and gross. Over the top and gross is kind of where my head is at a little bit. Oh, I like here's the rough for a page, and then there's I do like he had her, this woman is a witch that she meets at one point, and he really had her done up as a very traditional looking, should have a big wart on the end of her nose kind of witch, and he changed her to be much more friendly looking and not such a stereotypical witch. Oh, and this is a little short film. This is probably on YouTube somewhere. That's Frank himself. The wizard he kind of cosplays at is kind of represented in here. That guy's in much better shape than Frank is, though. But, yeah, so pretty sexy stuff. Definitely going to restrict the age on this video. You know, so it starts off, GHITA is a street wench, kind of, you know, ne'er-do-well who's stealing and grifting to get by. And, you know, she ends up hooking up with a wizard who's also a grifter, and who we're not sure how great a wizard he really is a lot of the times, but he pulls through, and she gets into all these adventures. She's not afraid to use her feminine charms to catch people off guard or help in the grift. But she's also more than willing to take a dagger and kill someone. She gets basically a magic sword that she uses to skewer people. So there's a lot of action. The one thing I really like about Frank's work in these comics is a lot of times when guys are drawing attractive women, and I would say that's about even some of the, some of the supposedly more sophisticated European comic artists who do a lot more of this kind of nudity and stuff than the Americans were doing, is he does not rely much on taking photos, copying photos from like Playboy or Penthouse for his drawings. Because a lot of times you look at some of these lesser ones and, the women don't look that great in most of the panels. And then all of a sudden, there's a picture that's obviously been copied out of a skin magazine, as they say. He draws some great. Here's a troll, a half troll or something like that she befriends, her and a wizard, and basically. Well, I'm not going to go into it too much. It's a kind of boilerplate kind of fantasy thing. The thing that makes it worthwhile is his art, his willingness to go places, explicit-wise, violent as far as violence and sexuality go. Is pretty good. Like I said, it's horror. It might not be X-rated, but it's horror, and there's, and it follows a predictable arch in that someone's trying to. There's magic involved. There's overcoming great adversity to become the ruler of the kingdom, and and they're smoking a weed that makes them high. There's a unicorn, a lusty unicorn, all kinds of stuff. So I won't go into this too much more. I think you got the details. Now, I will say there's some crazy stuff, like expecting people to read this much small print, and it's kind of like, I feel like he kind of picked some of this up from Roy Thomas and the way Roy Thomas was writing Conan and stuff, where there are a lot more words on these pages than need to be, because they're pretty easy to follow stories. The details that they impart, I guess it helps with the pacing. You don't want people flipping through too fast. I guess that's kind of how people feel about manga and stuff. But then there's other pages where there's, the action, they let the action get going. That's the only thing I'll say is there's, I wish there was a little less verbiage on some of these pages. And, he has, there are times when the print, it looks like it gets slightly smaller on pages where he knows he's going to be putting a lot on. And I don't know that that's really true or not. But, okay, I think I've shown you enough that you can decide whether or not you want to read more. There's some good character things, like the wizard she travels with. She thinks is just her partner in crime. He secretly has a crush on her, and he gets mad that she gets turned on by big, loudish guys. And here's a guy who she wants to have sex with, but turns out he's really one of the half-troll people that they're fighting with, and magically has been made to look like a handsome fellow, and tries to stab her, and she ends up butchering him. There's our main villain. So yes, so that's it. I think I've shown you enough that you can decide whether or not you want to see that.